Hey there, everybody. This is Kevin from Survivor Super Fun Time Show. And today we're being joined by another channel, another Survivor nerd channel that likes to talk about the game that we all know and love sometimes. What we have here today, we have Nicki from a budding podcast, just like this channel to some degree. Nicki from the Shot in the Dark Survivor podcast is going to be joining us today to talk about kind of a recap of Survivor 46 and really kind of any nonsense and ramblings that we have about Survivor in general. Nicki, how are you doing today?
I'm really good. How are you, Kevin? So nice to finally meet you.
Absolutely. We've shared some messages back and forth a little bit, talking about the game, talking about things we love, some shockers, things like that. So it's been really nice to be able to really bridge this gap across all the ocean between Australia and the US once again. Although devastating news, my friend, I'm sure you've probably seen, is that this supposed Survivor Australia versus US edition that was going to be happening apparently is not happening or not
What?
happening the way it was supposed to. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't. You're gonna have to link that to me after the show, man, because I'm intrigued.
I will. I mean, it sounds like the news is because a lot of people who are Survivor fans of the US, they pretty much stick to the US. But there's a lot of people who are hardcores and they watch Australian Survivor, which some people consider to be the elite. And there was they really did. I that's a whole separate rant for me, but I would disagree. Anywho, there about 2-3 weeks ago, there was an article that came out and said the producers of Australian Survivor are working on a US versus AU Survivor, which is huge. And one of the
Massive.
biggest it's pretty massive. It is. And one of the reasons why people like Australian Survivor so much is because they play a lot longer. I think they play like 60 days or something. And it's interesting, sure. They're like, all right, we're gonna have the Aussies versus the Yankees. It's gonna be great. And they were actually gonna do it, but it looks like today we found out that that's not probably going to be the case. Instead, it may be like Australia versus the world. And if it's Australia versus the world, it's only going to be 15 days long. And I'm like, what is Survivor 15 days? Doesn't that sound like nonsense?
That's ludicrous to me. Like, come on. If you're gonna do it like to the shorter new era time frame of 26 days, not whatever the Australians do. I'm gonna probably get scrutinized, but anyway.
No, I think you're 100% right. I saw one of the castaways from 45 on Twitter, Kendra. I think she replied to that article and said 15 days is a joke. And she's right. That's not Survivor. That's like, I don't know. That's a festival. It's tripping in a desert for that period of time. It's not really Survivor. Not at
No.
all. No. So, but
Well, how many
there's
castaways would you have for 15 days, right? As well.
Mm, I don't know. Hopefully just an absurd amount just to continue to make this just the worst idea ever. Put 26 on there. Why not? Multiple vote outs. Everyone's
Yeah.
being kicked out via fire.
Yeah.
Awful. Awful. I don't want it. I do have to give one bonus point to Australia though. Survivor Australia or the Australian Survivor, the thing that they do really well that the new era has fallen apart on, in my opinion, is the challenges. Australian Survivor still does like all these like hyper physical combat type challenges that new era Survivor has just totally abandoned. And it drives me nuts. Like this one popping up here. This doesn't happen anymore in US
What?
Survivor because they just don't want them touching each other at any point, basically.
Oh
And I'm
my
not
god.
saying I want everyone to touch each other, but sometimes it's good. It's good. And we're missing
Yeah.
that.
Well, that's the thing. I was only saying recently, like, what's with all the puzzles? I think I even said it on my podcast. If you want to go and listen, please do. I recommend it. But there we go.
Yeah,
No, but holy moly, I was like, enough with the endurance stuff, enough with like the puzzles. Like, I get that you're trying to do mental games, but like, I enjoy those physical hardship games where they get down right into it, and I'm like, man, there's the giant
absolutely.
gecko.
Yeah, like the giant gecko. By the way, I want to take a moment to recognize Jessica Chong because look at how adorable her little smile is as she goes down
Oh my
there.
god. And
Everyone else is all
Tiff.
focused and everyone's all sour about it. She's like, "Wee!" I love it.
Giant slippery dip.
Jess is one of my absolute favorite people to this day. Now that I've heard her commentary on Twitter, met her for a hot second at the New York finale. She's crazy funny. And when you look back, you're like, okay, she was a vibe, and we were robbed pretty early on.
I'm
That's a
so
shame.
jealous that you've been able to go to those events.
Yeah, some of them kind of worked out. I mean, I will say this: if you're going to gather it up together for to come from Australia to the US one of these days for an event, One's brewing. It's a charity event in Florida in December. It looks like a lot of people are going to be there. So
Yeah.
could be. I think it's called Over the Edge Celebrity Charity thing, and it's like 3 days. So there's a lot of cool people. Tevin just signed up for it. I'm pretty sure. So yeah,
Oh,
there's a lot of
my
people. A lot of people.
man, Seven. Yes.
Yeah, test negative, be positive. Those are the
That's
words of
it.
Tevin. I love that.
Oh,
Uh,
he's so funny.
oh, he's one of the greatest. And he was another one that we probably had cut short a little bit. But I guess speaking of trying to go back into 46 or retrospective a little bit, we'll kind of go maybe to start with backwards and then kind of go forwards a little bit. So overall, and I'm sure you've talked about this on your podcast, Shot in the Dark. Instead, so the ultimate winner ended up being Kenzie Petty. Kenzie, never, ever, ever Petty, Petty. Do you
Oh, I love
think that
her.
Kenzie Petty was the rightful winner in your eyes as a fan, or do you think someone else you thought was actually going to win the game?
Well, even going back to the first episode when I recorded this back in March with Adam, we did like first impressions and who we thought would win. My initial pick was Maria because when
Oh,
I saw that instant like VT from her, and I was like, oh, there's something about her that tells me that she's going to go far in this game.
she had
Mama
that
Maria.
fire.
Oh, 100%, right? And
Yeah.
then as time went on, and I was like, she got a bit cocky towards the end, when she thought she was ruling the roost with Charlie. And
She
that's
had
when
a
I
bit of a
think,
Godfather vibe going on.
yes.
Yeah. I mean, rightfully so, because she kind of was in control. So I mean, I get it.
But cockiness is not always a good thing in a game like this, right? You can be too confident and you have your torch snuffed the next day, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah, you certainly
But
can.
And then on top of that, I was like, as time went on, I was like, I'm starting to really find myself liking Kenzie more and more. And it goes back to the episode where we saw Ben's night tremors for the very first time. And I mentioned
Mm,
this on my podcast with Adam, and I was like, from somebody who suffers from anxiety and depression and has on and off for the last 10 or so years, like that really hit hard to me. And I was crying while I was watching it, and it got very emotive. And I said that to Adam on the show. I was like, it really endeared her to me as a fan, because when I saw her with Banu at the start yeah, there you go. I was like,
I'm like a wizard.
yeah, exactly. You know exactly where I'm going with this. No, but I didn't think it was very endearing because I was like, everyone's got mixed opinions about Banu, right? And he may
Hmm.
be a bit underestimated, but I was like, yeah, I think the tears are well and truly done, Like, I know you're not there
Hmm.
to win the $1 million. You're there. Oh, there was so much crying in this season. Like, I was like, oh
There
my
was.
God,
Early on at Yanu, there was some tears being shed. That is absolutely for
big time.
certain. I
Yeah,
mean, I
well,
I think you're right about the Banu thing, by the way. I loved Banu, I think up until episode 3, because I was like, "Man, what a great character." And episode 4, which I think was his boot, I was like, "Thank God it's his boot," because I have to admit,
I'm
as a
done.
character, screen time, I'm out. And I think, whoever tracks the number of confessionals, I think they said that Banu in those 4 episodes had more confessionals than Parvati did in Micronesia, which
Oh,
is it's
wow.
pretty absurd, right? Like, the entirety of Micronesia.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's why Kenzie really endeared herself to me as a fan, watching her like treat Ben with the respect and the nurturing that he needed during those really hard nights where he couldn't sleep, because she
Mhm.
had that experience having to deal with that with her mom and her sister who also suffer from mental health. And mental health is no joke. I'm just going to put that out there. So, yeah, I think she was the right
Absolutely.
winner. Yeah.
Now, so going into Final Tribal, did you think it was gonna be, you have Charlie, you have Ben, you have Kenzie. Do you think ultimately Kenzie was gonna win? Or, like, when you really kind of read the tea leaves, you thought about the jury, you were like, "Alright, so Kenzie's probably gonna come out of this the victor," or did you think it was gonna be Charlie, which a lot of people did?
Yeah, a lot of people did think it was going to be Charlie, right? But I even said in our predictions episode, I was like, I think the final three might be Charlie, Liz, and Kenzie, right? Because
Mm,
I knew Maria was going to be voted out when she did. And then I was like, oh, Ben might be the next person after.
mhm.
But then nobody expected Ben to win that last immunity challenge, right?
I
That
didn't
I
think there was a
remember watching
chance.
that and I was like, what?
I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I was like, Ben, and then of course I was super stoked about it, and Ben was at the finale watch party thing, so like everyone cheered, but I did not see that coming.
No, I don't think anybody saw it coming, right?
Mm-mm.
Aw,
Cutie
my man
patootie.
crush.
Well, that's good. That's actually, it's one of my questions is I had a, just a secret like podcaster top 5, and I got to say for 46, is he your man crush?
So the funny thing was we did like an episode on our podcast, which was basically who would you rather bang, marry, and kill?
Ooh, good question. Hold on, can you
Um,
propose it to me because I haven't heard this?
yeah, okay, so
Okay, you say what
out of
say yours or if you'd like to, and then I want to try.
okay, so we actually did it for both genders, just FYI. So
Okay,
for bang, marry, and kill. So bang for me, I think it was Hunter. Um,
fair.
for the girls, I think it was Kenzie, but I'm gonna have to listen back, and I encourage everybody to listen back to that
Yeah,
episode.
Shot in the Dark
Um,
podcast, the
that's
Bang
it.
Mary Kill episode.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's my bang. Who would you bang from male and
Well,
female,
can you
Kevin?
give me options?
Oh, it's anyone in season 46.
That's not how that works. You get 3 people and they get put in a certain category.
No, this is the way we
Yeah,
did it.
that is a
Right?
flawed, so I just have to pick anyone on the cast to kill and anyone to bang and anyone to marry?
Correct.
Um, wow. Kill. Jeez, that's a
Well,
tough
bang.
one.
We're gonna do bang first because I did bang first.
Bang? Oh, this is an awkward one for me because 'cause I've talked to some of these castaways. Hold up.
Putting
Let
you on
me
the spot here.
I'm gonna throw the list up here. Why not? I'm a brave man. Why not? Um, dude, okay. So, I say this with all love, and if anyone takes this seriously, no. No, okay? This is purely hypothetical, none of this is real. Uh,
Exactly. It's all
we're gonna
hypothetical.
absolutely, completely hypothetical. So, in our hypothetical, we're gonna go with Gem for Bang, and we're gonna go with, um ooh, I have so many people I'd wanna marry. It's so wild.
Well, you've got to
Um
think of a male that you want to bang too, because we did
Oh,
both.
yeah. That's no problem. That's no problem. Yeah, dude. Who's number 1 in the smash block? Um, Hunter's a good choice, I have to admit, but I gotta think about it. I gotta think about it. Charlie's top tier. Charlie's top tier. Tevin, um, man, I don't know. Okay. So we're gonna go with Charlie. I think he'd be tender as a lover. So I think it would work.
Yeah.
He's a big T Swift fan, as we all know.
Hmm.
He's got an emotional side. I feel like it would be something. Man, I don't wanna kill anyone. I feel like that's messed up. I don't wanna say that, but I will say marry. If I'm marrying Hunter, Hunter will do all the stuff
He
I
will
will be too
provide,
lazy to
right?
do.
Yeah.
I'll be too lazy to do all the stuff that Hunter will be totally happy to do.
Hmm.
No question. Boy, marry I'm going Ken's. I'm going Kenzie. No
Yeah.
question. Mind you, like, in the bang category, there's like a million people. I think they're all beautiful in their own way.
100%.
But yeah, it's really important. That's a fun game. I'm glad you proposed that.
And then
Yeah.
kill, right? You don't want to kill anyone.
I don't wanna kill anyone. There's people I wouldn't mind, not hearing from as much anymore, but I don't wanna permanently silence them or anything.
No, I know. But yeah, we did that on our episode. But yeah, it was just something fun that we thought we'd do
Oh, heck
mid-season.
yeah. Heck yeah. Do you have an all-time Survivor crush?
Oh gosh.
It's a tough one. I have, like, 5.
I have a fair few, yeah.
Yeah?
Like, I
Alright.
was a huge fan of like Colby Donaldson from the Australian Outback for a
Good old
long time.
Colby.
Yeah.
Him
Um,
and his big old Texas flag.
oh my god, and then the thing
He ain't no Hershey bar.
Oh my gosh. But his relationship with Jerry, man, that was an interesting one.
Oh, it's yes, that was one of the greatest, like, the fact that, like, Jerry was out there talking about, like, hot dudes and eating chocolate off of them and everything. I was like, "Go Jerry." I love Jerry to this day, actually, fun fact. But that's where, like, actually that relationship generated the quote I just said a second ago. One of my favorite, like, low key quotes that people never reference, where Colby is talking about Jerry thinking, he's hot and eating chocolate off him, and he said, "I ain't no Hershey bar." And, I love that quote. I don't know why, but anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a good choice.
Yeah, so probably
How
Colby.
How about new era contestant, or is it still Hunter?
Oh, it's probably still Hunter, but yeah, like I definitely had a real soft spot for Ben, and I was probably saying that a little too much. That does not rock.
Oh, sorry. Here's one. Here's a cool clip that I added because might as well. A little video clip that I think is adorable.
So
Rah, the little bull. That's really all there is. It's just him.
No,
Let's
but you
go.
know,
Let's go.
let's go.
so
He's adorable.
But you
I
know what
love
you
Ben.
should play is the clip of Mariah learning how to jump. That's funny.
Oh God. Yeah. Sadly, I don't have that queued up. I wish I did. That'd be a solid one. Here you go. Here's a more favorable Ben for you.
Oh,
That's a better one. Definitely that rocks a little bit more. They
yeah.
shred the love. Um,
Oh,
anyway,
super
so
jealous.
yeah, it's greatest. You know what? All-time crushes. I'm gonna say all-time crushes really quickly. For some reason, number one for a long time was RC from Survivor Philippines. Um, then Kim Powers from Survivor Africa. That was a big one. My
What?
initial I love Kim Powers.
I thought you
Um,
were going to say Elizabeth from season 2 because
actually,
she got a lot from that.
my very first crush from Survivor technically was Elizabeth, but I didn't watch it live, so I don't count it quite the same. But she was the first one. She's a total babe. I feel conflicted about her now, but she was the OG, I guess, I suppose. And there's just so many. The woman that Jeff Probst ended up dating forever, Julie
Oh,
Berry from
Julie. Yes.
Vanuatu, super gorgeous. There's honestly there's a million. New Era. I've got a ton, and I'm a little apprehensive to say most of them just because I've talked to some of them, but it doesn't matter. They're all silly schoolboy crushes after all, right? Who cares?
As mine's a little schoolgirl crush. It's like,
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. It's almost like a celebrity crush. It's never gonna happen. Whereas, I mean, yours, who knows? Maybe one day, you know, maybe you'll catch Ben. You never know.
I might meet him in that December event now that you've prompted me to go back and for
You may need to
Thanksgiving and
think about
Christmas
it.
break.
You may need to think about it. I don't know. I mean, there's some himbos out there that's worthwhile, and Ben may fall into that category. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess all right. So going to that final five, I actually was the same way as you about the finale. I think I laid it out exactly the same way. I think I said Maria was going out at five, mainly because from a narrative like storytelling standpoint, like Maria's got too big of a target on her back. Unless she can win immunity, it's probably not going to happen, and it didn't. And then I thought Liz was also going to make the final three, make it really interesting. You'd have a Siga, a Nami, and a Yanu with Kenzie, Charlie, and Liz. Not
Mm,
not how it shook out. Fire making, I didn't think Kenzie would have to do it. I couldn't believe that Kenzie was just taken to the final three. Still blows my mind to this day. But
yeah.
I'm also a viewer who wasn't in the game, and maybe Liz was more of a threat. And that's something I do want to say. As much as like Liz has gotten kind of clowned by the fan base online, I think a little bit.
Oh, she's
Probably a
being
little,
scrutinized.
yeah, pretty in a pretty big way, and I think maybe a little too much because there's a lot where people I don't think are giving into consideration the fact that, well, Liz was forced to go to fire. She was actually the first one that was forced to go to fire. Um, by the way, earlier when I said Kenzie was taking the final three, I didn't mean that. I meant Charlie. Um, so
Really
yeah,
didn't.
she was the first one put to fire. And you're like, well, as a viewer at home, you're like, nah, Liz is so easy to beat. Why wouldn't you take Liz with you? And I think maybe there's something where this may be one of those instances where the viewers maybe don't know as much as the actual castaways. So I do want to remind people of that because Liz, I don't think gets enough credit probably for the game she played. There was a lot of intentionality in some of those things, like not trying to look for idols. She wasn't a millionaire, but she used that as a strategy. Whether or not you thought it was really stupid in the beginning of the game doesn't really matter because it was part of the strategy, and she did get to the final four. So there's that
Mhm.
there. So anyway, but glossing over that, um, I was really surprised how the final three shook out. Kind of going back to what we were saying, where Charlie was just taken, even though as a viewer it looked like he had arguably the best game. Were you? Did you gasp essentially when Ben was like, "Yeah, I'm going to put Kenzie and Liz in fire"? Was that shocking to you?
Well, I remember speaking about it even offline, and I was like, I wonder who like he would take. Is it going to be Charlie, who's been with since day one, or is it going to be his new BFF, Kenzie? Right? And I
Mhm.
remember going at the time and I was like, no, I think he's going to stick to his original BFF since day one. So I think he was right to take Charlie. And I'll probably be scrutinized to all of time because people are like, well, you should have taken Kenzie, right? But
Do you
I'm glad
think
that
it
he took
was
Charlie.
right from a personality standpoint or a game standpoint?
I think it was more a personality thing, right? Because you think about Ben, like, as much as I love him, he didn't really have much of a resume, right? And I
He did
remember
not.
talking about the resumes that the castaways had built, all of them, right? The final
Mhm.
five. And I was like, the best people that have got like decent resumes, if you really want to talk about it, Maria, Kenzie, and Charlie.
Yeah, easily.
And the other two, like, well, what were their big moves that made them get to that point, right?
Yeah, I mean, as a viewer, it looked like we saw that Liz did have at least one, but it was taken credit for by multiple people. It was the Soto vote. You know, Venus took
Mhm.
credit for it, and then Tevin took credit for it. So no, ultimately, Liz lost that, and then the next move she tried to make, can't remember exactly offhand, but Q blew it up. So everything she tried to do, it was
Got
either
sabotaged by somebody else or
yeah,
executed by somebody else.
it was either sabotaged or the credit was taken. And so Liz came into it kind of short staffed. But the question is, do you think if she gets in front of the jury with like Kenzie and Charlie, or well, and that can't be Kenzie and Charlie, with Kenzie and Ben or something in that scenario? I wonder if well, it'd be Charlie, I guess. Charlie, Ben, and Liz. What do you think she'd be able to talk her way into beating Charlie, considering she's along with Ben seemed to be one of the two people that didn't have a big resume? I don't know.
Yeah, I still like if say it was the final three that you just pointed out. So Charlie, Ben, and Liz, I still think Charlie would have won easily. I reckon he would have got a unanimous vote.
Yeah, me too. I once I saw that he was going to be in there as a lawyer, I'm like, okay, well, he's going to be tough to answer questions because usually lawyers do pretty well in that setting.
Hmm.
Even Jake from 45, who didn't have a resume to speak of, he looked like he was still a part of it. Whereas like 43, and I love you, Owen, but in 43, it seemed like Owen, he tried his best, but by the end, he was just bummed out that he
Hmm.
knew he wasn't going to get any votes probably. But
Yeah,
Charlie up against Ben and Liz, I think, yeah, it was pretty close to a clean sweep.
100%.
Yeah. So I like that it made it exciting. I remember sitting there for a while in the finale and I was like, okay, Kenzie's not going to win this. Kenzie's going to get voted out. He's going to lose in
Well,
fire.
even the fact that Liz helped her win that last challenge, I was like, sorry, what?
Woo! Woo boy, that's a controversy, isn't it? That
Oh my gosh. Because the thing is, like, I've remember watching seasons gone by where Jeff's like, you can't help the other person, right?
yeah, the
And then,
particular Survivor South Pacific is one of the biggest example I can think of. Yeah, that one. If to get into that a little bit more specifically, Survivor South Pacific, I can't remember if it was the Final Four challenge or Final Five. We're down to it, and basically, the old alliance of Upolu wanted to beat Ozzy. Ozzy essentially came from Redemption Island, and Ozzy, the best challenger in the history of Survivor, or at least
goat.
U.S. Survivor, the goat, absolutely the goat, and OnlyFans king. He was probably on his way to winning the challenge. And Sophie was pretty close. And Albert, another member of the alliance, dropped his stack, or Sophie dropped the stack, and Albert was working toward it. And Sophie said, "Albert, come pick up my tiles for me." And he's like, "No, no, no, I think I got this." She's like, "No, you're not going to win. I'm going to beat you. Give me it." And Probe said, "Nope." Basically, to be clear, only one person is handling their own stuff. And this, if you want to beat Ozzy, then beat him. So this was the time where it's decidedly different. And of course, as you saw, Kenzie was locked in, doing the puzzle, needed the answer to the question, a quantity, but didn't understand it. But Liz did. Liz knew and took off running and got the plank for
Because she knew she
Kenzie.
wouldn't win, right? And then she ends up helping Kenzie win the biggest immunity of the season, I think.
That's probably true. That's probably true. And I felt really bad for Maria. I was thrilled Kenzie won. Like, I'm not going to front. I was thrilled Kenzie won that challenge. Probst didn't say it was against the rules, so it wasn't. So, like, point blank. However, Maria did, she got boned a little bit by probably the
Oh,
ethics of competition.
yeah, she was quite annoyed, right? You could tell
Mhm.
she was just like, it was like the one-handed hug. As I said, I was like, awkward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How can you not be? You know, it is an individual game, and hypothetically, I've seen the argument come back saying, then you should play the game in a way that doesn't get people to gang up on you in a challenge. Sure, I agree, but like the question is moving forward is where's the line? So if someone can go get your plank and bring it to you, then does that mean I can go get someone else's and throw it in the water or something? Like you would like
Yeah.
right away, you're like, obviously no, but where's that line? Like, did we know Liz was gonna go get it and bring it to Kenzie? Like, did Probst know that? Like, was that okay? I don't know.
Well, like you said, like the fact that the whole Aussie situation with, like, where do you draw the distinction, right? Is it like, is it allowed or is it not allowed? Like,
Absolutely.
why all of a sudden this season where it's like, okay, so many seasons have passed now that we're going to allow a castaway who has no chance in winning to help another castaway?
Yeah. And then you wonder, you're like, okay, is it just pure favoritism? Like for Survivor South Pacific, is it because it was Ozzy that they were trying to beat? Did Probst want to will Ozzy to a win because he thought it'd be good TV? Because Ozzy winning Survivor is a great outcome for any season, in my opinion. Now he never did it in 4 seasons, but he's gotten pretty close. Or like this season, then you think like, did Probst not want Maria to win, so he wasn't willing to put his foot down right away?
Yeah.
I From what I understand, the way it worked is the next challenge, the Final Four challenge, the castaways were told very specifically, it's individual, no one can help you. So maybe they caught like that they probably messed up at Final Five and they were just setting the course since they didn't tell anyone ahead of time. I don't know. Even if it wasn't actually against the rules, I have seen castaways say it was BS. Like maybe it wasn't illegal, but like it shouldn't be a thing. And I
Yeah.
think one of those was Kelly Wentworth, who a lot of
Yeah.
fans really love.
I saw it on
She's
her
an
TikTok and her Instagram. She was very
exact.
against it. Yeah.
Wentworth will always bring her opinion, if nothing else. That's for sure.
hmm
And I love her opinion like 95% of the time for what it's worth. She's one of those people that doesn't like the new era very much, but she's old school. They gotta stick with her group, you know.
The OG,
Um,
right?
yeah. And I have to say before we move on from that topic, the most vocal or the most prominent opinion that I saw from one of the castaways was Maria. I posted a I posted a clip of what I thought comparing the South Pacific to that, and she replied in very tongue in cheek. She said, "It's my personal opinion that it shouldn't be allowed." And I appreciated that from Maria. She was funny in that one. And of
Yeah.
course, every once in a while, like, she'll post like her at the gym and, I'll randomly send a message say, next time it's going to take 3 people to take you out if you keep working out like this.
Yeah,
And
exactly. She's a boss lady, man.
she is. She's a pretty badass. One immunity way from tying the record for at least women individual immunity necklaces, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But she'll probably be back for 50 if she wants to. It'd be pretty great. She's pretty baller. I mean, look at this. There's fury in
Oh,
those eyes. She's
Mama Bear
ready.
Maria.
Oh,
Gosh.
she's the greatest. I'm kind of bummed it ended that way for her, but what can you do?
It's the
Um,
nature of the beast of the game, right?
It is. And okay, so at one point I was gonna ask you who's like a castaway that you misjudged, and I'm gonna lead that off this discussion if we're reviewing 46. I did a castaway preview, and for the most part, I pegged a lot of the people pretty well. One I was dead wrong on, and arguably was the star of the season, a man named Q. Q
Quintavious.
Oh, Quintavious. Oh my god, what a fever
Excuse me.
dream this man is. He did everything I could have ever asked for in a castaway. There were episodes where I thought he was overplaying, episodes where I thought maybe he was being like a little bit extra, and other episodes where I said his game is dead. And somehow this man he like, it's at a point where I said, "If he is not on a returner season, I'm gonna be upset." I'm gonna be upset. I love this man. I thought he was gonna be out pre-merge, he was gonna be crappy, he was gonna think he was good at strategy, he was terrible. No, he was great. What did you think of Q?
Oh my gosh. Like, I remember, like, even, I think it was when Banu opened up saying when he went on that journey challenge and how he stuffed up so badly. And Q was like trying to embrace him and tell him this is how the game's played. And basically, nurture him into molding him to his mini me. And I was like, what the heck is this guy doing? And I was like, this guy needs to go. And it was just like the girls were like, Kenzie and Tiff were both like, Q's gotta go, man.
Oh my god. That
I definitely underestimated him.
it
That's for sure.
Banu or Q? Q?
Q, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. That I mean, good on Q when he tried to like collect Banu, which I thought was great. And Jess too. He actually tried to a little bit with Jess. Which is really smart. But again, like he ended up going with like Tiff and Kenzie, so whatever. But that moment when Banu, I know we're doing a sidetrack here, but that moment when Banu came back and he told Tiff, Kenzie, and Q. By the way, I told them all our secrets, and I said that Kenzie's the most dangerous player in the game. And he's like, "Oh, did I do a bad thing?" Yeah, you did a bad thing, Banu.
No shit, you
Are
did.
you kidding? He's like, "Did I do something wrong?" Yeah, you did. Are you kidding?
Oh
And this
my
is why
gosh.
Banu is not on social media. It doesn't talk to anyone because it was rough. It was rough.
Oh, it was literally Jess! I remember that.
Oh, poor Jess. And I love Jess. I like Banu too. But I love Jess. And seeing him scream at Jess while she was like the only one who was actually getting it right, by the way. Insane. Insane.
No, but oh my goodness, like that guy.
That guy. We're gonna and Banu, I'm sure he's a wonderful person when he's not out on the island and isn't, dying a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
Q
man.
did a great job there. I mean, he formed arguably the most impactful and worst alliance ever in
The
the
Alliance 6?
yeah,
Oh my
six,
god, yes.
the plus one alliance of 6 that was terrible.
It was doomed from
Nobody
the start, let's be honest.
Absolutely. I mean, I love that Q took the initiative and did it. I think it was what, Q, Tim, and Hunter that started it. Ultimately, I think it was. And
Yeah.
they meet up and they actually do the +1 thing, but then immediately they lose one, have to be replaced, and they do another one, and another. And it was the word. Like Hunter said in Final Tribal, they're like, yeah, being a part of +1 is not a feather in your cap. It was terrible.
No,
And
absolutely.
Hunter was very real for that, I have to say.
Yeah.
But Q did a great job. Loved him, and I hope if there's a person that I pick for returner season, it's probably him. And I
Well, the
didn't think that was
personality
coming.
of him alone, right? Like, I make a joke about this all the time now because I sent a video to Adam and I was like, look at me, I'm wearing my Q skirt, but this way.
Oh my god. His Q skirt is like one of the goofiest, like silly things that when he played the alphabet game,
Oh
while they
my
were
God.
while they were standing on the things and
Yeah.
like he was just fun there. I don't remember if he initiated hide and seek or that was someone else.
No, that was Q. He initiated hide
Of
and seek
course it was.
purposely to see how everyone would be able to.
Of
Oh,
course it
Hunter.
was. He is
Yeah.
the Q is just like on another level ridiculous, and I absolutely love it, and I hope we see him again. There's a few other people I would like to see play the game again, but Q is someone that I terribly misjudged. Someone I judged incredibly accurately was Kenzie, and I'm very thankful for that. She was everything I thought she would be. Venus, more or less, was kind of what I expected. Internet fans love Venus. I never really understood the love for Venus. She's probably a fine person. It's just that I felt like I constantly see her making the wrong game moves or
Moves.
not even wrong game moves. It's just that she didn't get along with people, but she didn't take much accountability.
Well,
And
again, it's the overconfidence that she like presented with herself. She was too confident, too much, too often in that season. I was just like, oh my God, really? No
I
wonder Maria
agree.
didn't like you.
Well, that's the thing. Like this clip actually right here, I'm pretty sure this photo is when Maria was saying that she felt like Venus was coming off very strongly toward her. And
Like
Venus
a
was
child. Yeah.
kind of and like Venus was not getting it. She was like, "Yeah, I think she just doesn't like because she's older, she just doesn't like, hearing it from a younger woman." And like
100%.
that exists in real life for sure. But I mean, it's not everyone else's fault if it's happening with you and a lot of other people. So, sometimes you are the common denominator, right? So
Mhm.
she was one I misjudged in that way. But for the most part, I don't know. Actually, she wasn't terribly far off. Someone I was really I I was disappointed we didn't get to see quite as much more of, and I think it's because of the edit, and it ties into Venus in a pretty big way, is actually Soda.
I was gonna say soda.
Yeah, unfortunately, Soda Pop, man, she was out of there too early for my liking. According to like postseason interviews, Soda was one of the biggest advocates of Venus. And in the beginning of the game, all anyone knew Soda and Venus for was like Soda taking the idol from Venus when the Nami kept winning.
Oh my god, yes, I kept reiterating this as well. I was like, what is the go with this? It was like yoink.
I was so confused because I'm like, clearly she's stealing it from Venus and being mean about it. I don't believe now that she was. I believe she was just hyped about winning, and usually you pass the idol around when you win. But,
Mhm.
like, that's all we got. We got that. She likes to sing. She's smart in the little tidbits we actually got to see on camera talking, and she was kind of in alliance with Tevin. Some of that stuff is not totally true. Um, Tevin post game was like, "Yeah, me and Soda never had an alliance. We were near each other, but Tevin said he couldn't trust Soda because Soda constantly would tell Tevin like, "Hey, we should really work Venus into our alliance. Like, it'd be a good idea." And Tevin's like,
Interesting.
"Yeah, like apparently she was like, let's use Venus. Let's bring Venus in." And Tevin was like, "I don't," in so many words, "I don't trust Venus. I just don't." And the fact that she kept bringing her up, Tevin's like, "Yeah." So that unspoken alliance we had, like, it's definitely not a real alliance, because I just can't trust you if you're gonna keep not reading the room with me.
Hence the soda's got to go to thing, right?
Yeah. And it's a shame. She's a nice lady. It seems like, maybe she would have done well in another I think
She
she said, like,
reminds me very much of Marianne, actually. That's what I said in my
oh,
opening. Yeah.
Marianne is an interesting comparison. Boy, Marianne was like a go-go energizer bunny all the time. I gotta give that to her. And so Soda. I think you're right. I mean, she, man, she was one that got cut short a little bit too early, but that's because that's what the story necessitated. We
Dictated.
just think,
Yeah.
yeah, like we can't spend all this time on big characters like Venus, like Kenzie, like Q, even Charlie, or Tevin. We can't do that and give all that time to Soda, even in an hour and a half season, or hour and a half per episode season, unfortunately. But that was one that I was kind of a little bummed about. How about yourself? Like, who's someone that you think really did not get the attention they probably deserved on this season?
Ben.
Ben, of course, Ben. Ben's a great option, though. Can you expand on why you say Ben?
Like, I remember saying at one point, I was like the fact that he was able to win that last challenge, and I was like, maybe the editing's doing that purposely to make you think, okay, he hasn't had a lot of screen time. Maybe he does win, right? Because normally you can get little ideas that, okay, because we've seen so much of this one person, it might do them detrimental to the viewer
Mhm.
going, okay, well, maybe they're out next, right? And that's why I
Yeah,
was
you
like, oh,
could.
and so maybe they've done it that way, but sadly, Ben didn't win. No, but I'm
No,
super happy that Kenzie won. I'm really happy she did.
she's wonderful. She's my sun and stars as far as castaways go. I love her.
Is she your
Ben,
hall pass?
is she my hall pass? Oh God, I'm not saying all that. I do love Kenzie though. I've been fortunate enough to talk to Kenzie
Mm.
a few times, and she's always been incredibly sweet. So no, she's like a wonderful sister that I only sort of know. Um, but going on to the Ben stuff, as you were saying, Ben is actually really interesting to me, and I think he's a great choice because I feel like a lot of Ben's story, it's definitely modified.
Relatable?
No, no, it wasn't relatable to me at all. Actually, what I mean is, like, it was distorted. Distorted is the word I was looking for. We knew the shred rock thing, but otherwise, he looked like he was very clueless. I think his relationship with Charlie was probably not as highlighted as it probably really was. I think hearing Maria post game, I think she said, Ben and Charlie were probably a lot closer than they even showed on the show. Like they made it look like me and Charlie were like dominant to some, we had all the secret conversations and Charlie didn't have much of one with Ben. But she's like, honestly, Ben was probably equal to me in the relationship with Charlie. So that's something that was probably a little underrated because that means Ben probably had more strategic conversations that we just didn't get to see. Instead, we
Mhm.
saw the Maria ones with Charlie. So there's that. And also, of course, most of it was about like night terrors. and that's a big piece of the of him. But like I can't imagine that was like all the time or anything. So they decided to really focus in on those. I thought at first for Kenzie's sake as maybe a winner. But then I thought maybe they're just doing this to Ben because it's a unique thing that they don't get from other castaways. And
Mhm.
I tend to think it's more the latter. And if that's the case, we definitely missed out on some stuff that maybe would have been different, or I struggle to use the word better from Ben on the show. So I think he's a great option that you chose him for someone who probably is either underappreciated or maybe even under-edited.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I don't
Because
know.
like I remember seeing a deleted scene where Maria approaches him and she's like, "You've got the idol, remember?" Have you seen that clip online?
I may have. I'm trying to recall it.
But I
Go
was
ahead
just
though.
like, and he's like, "I don't have it," and that's when Jem went home with it. I think only, or it was before Jem went
Oh,
home,
yeah. Oh, yeah,
and I was
yeah,
like,
Gem, jungle good old
"Oh
jungle
my
Gem.
goodness, yeah, Jamelia, God bless her." But
She's
yeah,
great.
but the fact that Maria really came down hard on Ben, thinking that he had the idol when in fact he didn't, and I thought
Mhm.
that was kind of brutal, and I was like, "Geez."
Yeah, I mean, Maria's a killer, man. When she thinks that, she's gotta get in there, she will, and I actually love that about her. And I don't think fans have appreciated that quite as much as I have probably. But unfortunately, it was just Ben that had to be on the receiving end because Ben's so terribly sweet, and at least from the show, I don't look at him as some fierce guy that really is going to get in a fight. Although there were like odd moments where like Ben had no problem doing it. I actually pulled a clip from one of those moments. I didn't plan on talking about this, but it's super quick. This is I cut the clip is Ben throws some shade at Q
Oh, this
because
is gonna be hilarious. I would love to see this.
it's like a 10-second clip, but we'll just look at it real quick.
The beach by myself for most of the day, talking to no one. It's been nice. It has. So, for the
He's just it's like, yeah, Q's been gone, and I've been really stoked about that. And I was like,
It's been
man,
nice, no cute.
like there were moments, and one of my favorite quote from the whole season. My favorite quote is I think it was the I think it was the Tevin vote out. It was when there was a live tribal, and Ben stands up and goes, when Q said he wanted to vote himself, he wanted to get voted out. When Ben stood up and said, I don't care for these shenanigans. And I was like, Ben, you are so funny, dude. I know he didn't mean it. He didn't mean to be funny, but oh my God, was it funny?
The quick one-liners, but even I was saying, like, just some of the one-liners that we get from Ben, like I've got in my notes from when we were recording our podcast this season. I was like, the shit that this guy comes out with is hilarious. Like the Van Halen stuff, and I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh my
I heard the very first thing they said, did anyone puke on the ride in? He's like, me. I did.
yeah, look how young he looks there, and then
It
he
looks
looks
night and
like,
day.
well, 26 days later. Look, oh my God, totally
I know.
different.
Haggard, right? Here's the great one. I like this photo of him in particular. It's from the kind of the opening challenge here. I'm sure you remember it pretty well. Assuming the actual photo shows up. Here we go. Those
Yeah,
eyes.
that's in the
How
credits. Yeah.
how
Oh,
blue. Oh,
oh,
beautiful.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Stunning blue eyes. Yeah.
Who has more stunning blue eyes?
Him
Ben
or Kenzie?
or Kenzie?
How did you know I was going there, Kevin?
Well, because it's obvious. They have the stunning blue eyes.
Oh man.
Kidding me? Who else am
Yeah.
I gonna pick? I'm not picking anyone else. I'm picking these beauties here.
Yeah. Both.
Although it's a different season, but Alligator's
Oh,
got some nice eyes too, actually.
yeah.
Fu
Mike
Fun
Gable.
fact.
Yeah.
Oh, and random side thing. This is not blue eyes, but speaking of gorgeous photos, this is Jamie from Survivor 44. She looks so adorable.
I haven't got to that part yet. No spoilers, please.
Oh no, it's a little scarf around her head.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah, actually, yeah, Nicki is watching Survivor 44 for the
As
first time right
promised.
now. As promised, watching Survivor 44. She had made a promise to the
To
world,
you.
to God, to me, that
Yeah.
because I mean, Survivor 44 is pretty important to watch. I mean, they're all important to watch, but like if I ranked the seasons personally, it would probably be mid of the new era. But while watching, I had so much fun watching 44. Um, but like gameplay wise, I think I go 40, 45, 46, 43, then 44, then 42, then 41. But when you
Ooh,
watch
wow.
it, 44 is a fun ride because the personalities, Jam Jam and Carolyn, are two of the best casting choices ever.
Oh my god, I was even saying this to you just before. I was like, how do I compare Liz versus Carolyn? I don't know. Like,
They're incredible. They're
can
incredible.
you imagine the two of them in a tribe though, Liz and Carolyn?
It would be pretty. I mean, it would work out because I think Liz is quirky, but not chaotic. Whereas Carolyn, like
Is
Carolyn to me is
loud.
like Carolyn's loud, Carolyn's very random. Like the best comparison to Carolyn is probably Nora from Island of the Idols. And I
Mhm.
love Nora and I love Carolyn. So I'd be down for both personally. And that's gonna be one of the big discussions is Survivor 50 has already been
50.
announced as returners. So the question is who's gonna return. I'd prefer if y'all new era people because I've tried to make cast lists just recreationally for fun on a Saturday night about who should be in it with using legends. And it's like impossible. It's because how do I leave like Parvati off? How do I leave Basaraba? But no one wants to see them all the time. Do you want to see all them play again?
Well, that's the thing. Like, how many times do you need to play, right? And I think if you're going to do something like that, like another winner season, I don't think that the winner should actually receive $1 million. I think they should go to charity. That's just my personal opinion. They
Cool,
might be
Gabler.
scrutinized. Yeah, well, he did an amazing thing by doing what he did, because he's
Mhm.
a surgeon, right? And he looks after people. So that's great. But
He's
like,
a transcatheter valve specialist or something. We've talked about it a few times.
I'll
I'm
have to
roughly
interview
remember.
him myself and find out. But yeah,
Telling you,
um,
Alligator would be happy to.
if you're watching this, please come on my show or Adam on my show. No, but like I think that'd be pretty cool though if they did that, right? If they
Yeah,
were going to do another
absolutely.
winter season. But yeah, I think it should be the new era castaways, to be fair.
Oh, totally. And once you're done all the seasons, I would love to hear what you all would try to put together for a cast list for Survivor 50. Now, mind
Oh
you,
gosh.
that's leaving 40. Like, I have a hard time fitting all the castaways into the season with only 6 seasons to choose from. Then we have an additional 3. It's going to be like impossible. I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, it's like who would you draw upon, like, right?
Yeah, and you try to use the standards as well of CBS's casting, where you try to have a equal representation or at least 50% representation of, people of color or minorities, whether it be like LGBTQIA representation. It's tough. It's really tough. I tried to do it. It was wild, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, no, we gotta have a white on this tribe. At different points. I was like, man, this is tough to construct with only 6 seasons to work with.
Yeah,
Imagine
exactly.
3 more. Gonna leave some big characters off the show, and I don't wanna do that.
No. I
No.
can't pick my favorite child.
No, it's very difficult because there are people I wanna see play the game again. You've seen 45, right?
No, so 44 and 45 are the ones that I promised that I'd watch.
That's right. I remember 44. It gets all jumbled up for me. Okay, so I won't talk about that too much, but there are a few people from 45 I would have to probably leave off that I think are guarantees to be on, but I can't guarantee it. It's awful. But 50, there's a bunch of people from 46 that I think would be probably shoe-ins for 50, and hopefully that's the case. Maria's one of them, I hope. Because
You?
I think well, actually, you know what? Kinda as a pivot, 450, if is there an ideal theme that you would like to see implemented for returner season?
I think just returning because wasn't
Just returning.
um David versus Goliath probably one of the last few themed seasons?
Well, I guess Winners at War, then Island of the Idols, then Edge of Extinction. Well, like, honestly, all of those were themed at that point. Um, so, like, okay, so of the theme seasons, outside of All Stars, which I guess this would be just All Stars, um, would you like a second chances, be the theme of 50 so that only people who have played once are gonna play? Heroes versus villains, fans versus not fans versus favorites. It's gonna be all returners. That doesn't work.
Yeah,
Um, it can't be blood versus water either. So really,
because we've
second
already done
chances,
that. Yeah.
yeah, or it could just be straight up all stars, I guess.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
I'm not entirely
I
sure.
will go right away with heroes versus villains. I'm always going to be down for heroes versus villains.
Yeah. Bring back Johnny Fairplay.
Yeah, you know, Probst hates that guy, man.
Oh, he does.
He hates that guy with a
I just
passion.
remember watching the reunion show where it's like, well, when we found out that your grandma had died, we rang up to pass out and condolences on, and then who answers the phone? It's his grandma.
Of course. Watching Price is Right, Bob Barker.
Yeah.
He when he came back for Micronesia and ended up, leaving, I think that's when Probst was like, "Screw that guy." But he is one of the OG villains of the game, no question.
Him
And
and Russell Hands, right?
oh, Russell, man. Russell's one of those people that I do love using as an example because people, like for 46, this is a great way to tie it into 46. A lot of people go like, well, Charlie obviously should have won the game because he had the better resume. And he basically he ripped through things. And Kenzie, what did she do? She didn't deserve it. She just was really friendly with people. Da, da, da. I'm like, okay, well then I assume you bring that same energy for Russell Hantz discussions. Because if that's the case, Russell Hantz should be the two-time winner of Survivor. However, he lost to people that didn't piss off other people nearly as much as he did. Natalie from Samoa, I couldn't name you anything she did, and Russell did it all. But the problem is he doesn't know how to get along with people. So it's funny because you can kind of, when you talk to fans about it, like see their brain explode a tiny bit when you go like, okay, well, if you think Kenzie did nothing, then and you should be supporting the person with the better resume, then clearly Russell Hantz is one of your favorites because he's got resume for days.
Yin and Yang, right?
Yeah, which funny enough was the merge tribe name of Heroes versus Villains, Yin Yang.
There you go.
It all ties together, circle of life. So overall, I guess questions are, since I know we're probably running a little bit short, maybe a couple minutes here. Overall impressions of 46. How did you think it played out throughout the season, and are you content with it?
I remember the first like 4 episodes, and I was like, what have I done? Like, I remember thinking, oh God, this
Yeah, it
is
was like
why I stopped watching after 43.
there's an
But
ugly
also
ass
because
end of the horse.
the donkey. No, but
Yeah,
honestly, I was just like, oh, because I honestly didn't watch 44 and 45 because I was in a dark space. I will admit that. And also, like, marriage was going to shit and everything else. But
I appreciate you
I
sharing
was
that.
like, yeah, fun fact. But then when I finally got into the thick of it, and obviously, as most people will say, like the lower quality castaways got voted out, i.e., Jess and Jelinski and Banu, and then the medical evacuation of who
Randon.
was it? Brandon, thank you. But I was like, okay, well, hopefully it'll start picking up, and thankfully it did. And then obviously when the merge happened, that's when it really ramped up, right? Seeing more characters come to full light and seeing them spread their wings and show us what they're made of. Get the Q skirt.
Get the Q skirt out. Absolutely. There's no question that he is front and center in that discussion.
But like this season definitely reminded me why I'm a 90s kid, right? A lot of things that were brought up, and I was like the easy bake oven thing, like don't touch the oven, it's hot. That's the Banu thing. Oh, Charlie.
Oh yeah, the don't make the block any hotter.
Yeah.
Oh, Tiff and
Oh,
Kenzie, sweethearts for life.
yeah. BFFs, 100%. But it definitely grew on me as time went on. So, and I
Mm.
thought by the end of it, I was like, oh, are we at the end of the season already? Like,
Boy, it
and now
flies,
I'm
doesn't
like,
it?
oh, 100%. Like, it started in March, and now we're like mid-June, and I'm like, where's the time gone? And
Yeah,
I'm gunning
same
for
face.
season 47. Yeah. I'm like, what?
Disappointment everywhere right now. Dead. Dead.
Oh, she was crying because she didn't get the letters from her kids.
Yeah, she's a big sweetheart when it comes to her kids, that's for sure. And,
Mama bear through and through.
yeah, yeah. And I remember hearing from Maria, there's different points where like I think she kind of knows she was edited to be kind of the antagonist by the end. And probably she was, because she was the number one target. That's just what it is. But I think even like on some rewards, like I can't remember which one. There was one where she offered her spot to Liz, but they didn't show it.
Yeah, that
Um,
was the Applebee's reward.
was that the Applebee's one? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. She
because she
did.
and Kenzie offered to give their seat to Liz, and Q was like, "Nope, not having it." And
Well,
we didn't
no,
see it.
there was another one where she offered and they didn't show it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm pretty
I
sure
thought
she was
it was
like,
the Applebee's reward.
yeah, I think this may be an additional thing. But yeah, okay, let's just say it's just the one. Still, if that's something that they didn't show, that's kind of a bummer because like I think there's maybe a little more there than they cared to show on television. But I mean, that really does tie into maybe the last topic that's worthwhile, and then we'll probably wrap up a little bit because I know you have some other fun folks to talk to about it on your podcast, Shot in the Dark. Um, the big thing, one of the biggest controversies that came out of it was the friendship of Charlie Maria. Apparently, it fascinates everyone the fact that Maria did not vote for Charlie to win the game. She was one of
Yeah.
the votes that did not go his way and instead went to Kenzie.
Mhm.
Now, the main reason that Maria cites is that, basically when, the fire making went down and after final travel, she said, you know what? I saw the fire in Kenzie's eyes, her gorgeous blue eyes. That's me adding commentary. Saw that and said, hey, I respect that. I love that. I can see that a little bit in myself. And I just had to go for Kenzie instead of Charlie. And Charlie looked pretty bummed by it. And not only was Charlie bummed by it, but the internet seems to think Maria is a bitter old lady that sucks. And I don't agree with that. But I'm curious what your take has been on it because there's definitely been some spicy takes on that vote.
100%. Like, I've read as much as I can on this. Like, the fact that she was annoyed, that she was bitter, the fact that obviously her number one ally threw her out of the game before she got the chance to do that,
Mhm.
right? Because they were seen as a Malcolm and Denise duo. Shout out to the Philippines.
Uh,
But
Good old Survivor Philippines. Matt
yeah.
Singh, bless up.
No, but seriously, the fact that she was quite disgruntled by that. And then obviously the biggest question of them all that came out of the jury, and the fact that we didn't even get a question from either Liz or Maria at the final tribal council surprised me. And I don't know if it was editing or whatever, but the
Mhm.
fact that Q was like, how do you intend on spending the $1 million? And it was Kenzie's response that changed her mind even more so, right? When she was like, I've been working since I was 15. I want to look up for myself now. I want to start a family. And that's what kind of triggered Maria's mind to go, okay, I see myself in her. Like, because that's what I was like.
I think so,
So,
yeah, absolutely. That seemed to definitely play a pretty big factor in that vote.
yeah.
And
So I
I
think,
I love that. But I do want to say a side thing. I love that Kenzie owned it and it's like I'm not giving money to anyone. I'm using it. That is
for
one of my
myself,
favorite. Yeah, I mean in Big Brother, there's a season of Big Brother where somebody asks one of the finalists and says, "All right, so what percentage of the money will you give to charity?" And the winner, because he did win the game, he said, I don't want to lie to you. I'm thinking somewhere around none. And exactly like that. And he still won the game. And when Kenzie did that, that's all I could think of. And I said, Kenzie, you're wonderful. Anywho. So anyway, back to Maria. And if you feel as though, even with that justification, if you felt anything was done wrong, if you were still surprised.
like, yeah, I was a little surprised, but I wasn't surprised in some respect because I thought there was a bit of like hostility between she and Charlie when she got voted out. Like, and she has every right to change her mind. Like, anything could have happened in that final jury, like, I mean, final tribal council, where, like, what if Charlie wasn't there? Like, would she have still voted for Kenzie?
Yeah. Or
I beg that question to you. Like,
flip it around. I think, would Charlie have voted for Maria if the ally would have been in the game and he was out? I don't know.
exactly. We
It's
don't
it's a
know.
it's a great question, truthfully. I am very much on board with anyone can vote for any reason they want to, but it does I what I've learned from this is it's very important to fans, or well, I'm not even going to say fans. Most fans don't even think twice about this. Stands in particular on the internet. it's important to them to understand at least the logic of the vote, if not the vote itself, or the decision itself. Because I thought right away, I was like, Survivor Borneo, one of the deciding votes, hypothetically, was Greg, and his question was pick a number between 1 and 10. Um, I mean, and people have less problem with that vote than Maria voting for Kenzie for
Yeah.
a reason where she just felt relatable to Kenzie. And fans don't seem to be cool with that because they think maybe Maria is just lying. And that's kind of nonsense to me to some degree. Maybe they feel it makes her seem disingenuous, and people generally don't like disingenuous people. But like for the most part, what does Maria have to lie about? And I just don't see it.
Well, that's the thing. People are going to make up their own minds the way they see what's being portrayed, right? So it's like,
Mhm.
okay, I've seen the fact that she and Charlie were super close, and then Charlie's gone, you know what? I'm going to have to vote you out. And then they make up their own mind and they're like, well, obviously, clearly, she's not going to vote for Charlie if he gets to the final 3 because she's hating on him for voting her out. Like,
Mhm.
that's the nature of the beast of this game, right?
Yeah,
Like, people need to, like, you're going to make up your own mind, but we can't say that we wouldn't do the same if we were in that same position. If I was on the jury
absolutely.
and I was Maria, like, and I heard that answer, of course I might be thinking, okay, well, Charlie's answer versus Kenzie's answer, who's more relatable to me?
Mhm. And she's a
And
mama bear to the end, like you said. I mean, hearing that Kenzie was like, "Listen, I want to use it to start a family." Maria's probably right away is like, "Yeah, yeah, that's extremely noble to me."
100%.
Yeah. So
So,
I mean, it's amazing that supposedly that question flipped people's votes. Like Q wasn't going to vote for Kenzie, and Maria probably wasn't going to, but that one question from Q kind of got them to Kenzie, which ultimately ended up winning her the game, I guess. So
100%. It was that question that made it her the millionaire, I think.
yeah, man, how cool. Kenzie, I've talked about this with you, I think a little bit. Kenzie's the first person in the new era where I started day one as they're my favorite and they actually won the game. I couldn't believe it. I never am that good at my aim.
Yeah.
Yeah, normally it fails, but I'm not gonna say the other ones, but we'll just say 42. Mine was very broy and it was Jonathan. The
Yeah.
big
Jonathan
boy.
Young, right?
Jonathan Young. Love Jonathan
Oh,
Young.
he was
Which
a
by the
beast. My
oh,
God.
he's one of the only ones that could actually do Survivor Australia and like kill because you Aussies over there, man. When you do competition on Survivor Australian Survivor, like everyone's huge. Like it's wild. Everyone's got like nice workout gear, which by the way, that's another thing that I think Australian Survivor has a little bit easy. They have these like they get like the best gear to go out into the outback with. And Jonathan's one of the only ones that could compete with some of these guys. The guy Simon from Heroes versus Villains and Brains versus Brawn, that dude's a beast. It's intense. But Jonathan's one of those. Which, by the way, Jonathan is like one of the coolest dudes. He like builds feeding stations for people in Nicaragua who need it, like poor folks. And all he does is like mission trips, works out, and that's it. And I think that's cool. So shout out to Jonathan. He's a great dude.
Yeah.
Uh,
Would you go on Survivor? That's one question that I want to ask you.
Would I go on Survivor? Oh heck yeah. Heck yeah, girl.
Well,
I've
why
been
don't you
trying.
sign up?
I've been
Yeah.
trying. I've been doing it. Listen, it's their fault that they haven't realized that I'm a reasonable
CBS,
character.
get Kevin on the show.
That'd be nice. I can't wait to flame out, dude. If you think Jelinski screwed up, wait till you see me. It's gonna be wonderful. I'm not intending to lose in any way. However, I think there's a possibility that me and him could be sharing the first boot trophy together. It's possible. I
But you
want to do
wouldn't throw
well.
an hourglass, Kevin. Come on.
Man, I don't know. Maybe I possibly would. I and even that's like its own little mini controversy from this season as a side thing. Supposedly, like Jelinski and Q, they both are like Q's like Jelinski quit, and Jelinski ever since he was voted off, basically was like, well, Q was the one who actually brought up quitting, and ever since then, no one knows the truth, which is wild. I don't know. Jelinski's cool. I love Jelinski. I called him a big whooping crane in one of my preseason predictions, and he commented and said it was funny and keep it up. I was like, really? I didn't mean it as an insult, but it's not certainly it's not a cool compliment either. So I don't know. But
Oh man.
yeah, he's fine. But Yes, but would I go on? Absolutely. Would you go on US Survivor if they were like, "Hey, Nikki, uh, come here. I got a secret for you. You're gonna be on US Survivor. Are you in?"
I would lose my flipping mind if I was on it, man.
But would you
It's
say
funny.
yes?
I would say yes, but I don't know
Good.
how I would like cope with the backlash afterwards, right?
Oh, that's
Because
the worst part.
and keeping it a secret for so long because you got to sign like the NDA, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, right?
And imagine if you go on there and you do terribly and you have to wait it out and you're gonna watch a season and you have to sit there and watch you flame out entirely or do something pretty stupid. And you're just like, great, all this hype, knowing that I'm just gonna fall on my face once everyone watches it. That's fun.
Well, well, that's the thing. Like, it's one thing having to like be there and have the cameras on you 24/7, and then having it edited in a certain way for entertainment purposes, and then for then the entire world to watch, and then for people to scrutinize your gameplay or whatever.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know how well I don't know. That's like the number one thing. I don't know how well I would handle that either. Because like the internet has made, and mind you, this is on the internet. I hope all the people that I'm about to talk about subscribe to my channel, subscribe to Shot in the Dark podcast, because you're wonderful and you are the lifeblood of what we're doing right now. But I would like to turn around and say, in my opinion, y'all are also very insufferable when it comes to discourse in the Survivor community. It drives me nuts. Actually, that's the reason why this channel even exists. It's because after Survivor 43, the Stan community on Twitter drove me insane. I was like, can you all be happy about anything that just occurred? Anything at all? It's Survivor. It really wasn't that bad. I promise.
Yeah.
And 44, they find a there's always somebody that they got to beat up on. 46, we had it for a little bit. I think the hate for Maria is pretty manufactured. Same with Liz. I love Liz. There's some hate there that I don't get, and a lot of love for Venus. Again, I'm sure she's a fine person, but from the show, a lot of love for Venus that would not go away. And I was like, it's become like tribalized, not no pun intended, and how people feel about some of these castaways, and they just are going to bat with them or hating them no matter what.
And they rip them to shreds, right? Like, I know, like, we probably scrutinized Banu and we scrutinized Jelinski and all that, but it's
Mhm.
like, these are people at the end of the day, right? And they do have emotions. And I hate cyberbullying with an absolute passion, right? Because I've been prone to bullying as a young person, and it's just like cyberbullying just takes it to the next level. And I'm just like, I can't. Like, I don't know how
Absolutely.
I would deal with it.
I'll tell you this. I do know this. I know exactly how I would deal with it if anyone came for me online. I would just come back. I'm dead serious. I'm not even talking crap. This is coming from the perspective of someone who has been I have another YouTube channel that is a bit bigger than this one, and I've had a lot of comments in that section that hurt my feelings in the beginning. They did. And then eventually I figured out, you know what? Don't even care. I'm just going to be a dick to anyone that decides they want to come and be a dick. Like that's the overall thing. Do not be a dick to people. And if they do that in the comments, you got to come back. And some of the castaways have beautifully handled this. I remember last season, it was really fun when D was replying to folks at different times. They're like, how could you vote for X person? And D, I remember responded one time and said, I'll do it again and your mom is next. I think that's hilarious. Like,
Wow.
that's so funny. Liz did it a billion times this offseason. Like she would constantly write people back and just, call them weirdos and stuff. I'm like, that's what you got to do. Like
You gotta have
genuinely.
thick skin, right?
You got to thick skin and not be afraid to just like make fun of these people back, in my opinion.
And take the
Now,
good with the bad and the ugly, right?
exactly. Turn it into your own fun game of trying to be witty. Like, God forbid, I don't think Brandon from 45 quite got to, but he's maybe the wittiest person on Twitter from Survivor. But he had kind of a rough go of it at different points. And I don't know if he was up for that back and forth. But like someone like him, forget about it. You might as well not even bother trying to mess with him because he's gonna mess you up. And I think that's how I would handle it. However, I would hope that I would have a lot of good in my game so that I wouldn't have to do it too much.
I'd be a social player, much like Kenzie, I think.
It's tough to like Kenzie. Kenzie's a beast. I would try to be like Kenzie, but I can't be Kenzie.
I'm
She's
quite social, but I can also be very socially awkward too. Like,
oh. Well, that's I think you've described one Jessica Chong.
yes,
Um,
Miss Jessica Chong. Yes, I'm like you.
she's so wonderful. I love Jessica Chong. She's like I remember when I talked to her, she said, "It's funny. They kind of showed me as this like introverted weirdo. So, like I'm a weirdo, but I talk all the time. It's impossible to get me to shut up. So like I don't understand where this came from." And I agree. She's great. And I would probably play at least socially kind of like her, but man, Kenzie's another level of perfect in that regard. This girl, she's got the juice.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't even know how I'd go in those challenges, man, because I see them like watching them and I'm like, they're effing huge, right? And I'm like, I'm terrified of heights. Like, I'm not a strong swimmer, so I'd be like on the sit-out bench week after week after week.
and you know what? That's totally okay. You don't need to win challenges to win this game. It's fine.
No,
You know
you do
that.
not. Yeah.
Uh, Although I think you need to get maybe like one. You need to be respectable, and that gets you really kind of in the discussion. Like when Kenzie got one immunity win in the very beginning of the merge, I said, okay, she's got one out of the way. People can look back and say, at the very least, she mixed it up and she wasn't a total waste physically. Um, and I think sometimes people like if like Liz was there, I think people go like, on Liz. And Ben until he won that immunity. But I don't know. That's a
Allegedly.
discussion for another day though. Um, but I guess overall, I wanted to say to wrap up the Maria and Charlie thing, I don't get it. I don't think Maria deserves the hate. Who cares? Charlie lost. Thank God. Charlie is an upstanding dude. He's a great dude. Most other seasons he would have won that game. And him in the final tribal saying to everyone, ultimately who the jury decides wins is the winner. That's just it. And he's right.
And that's the game, right?
That will always be the 100% truth of everything. And I just need fans to kind of reiterate that as they think about all
God.
these scenarios of how the vote was stolen from Charlie somehow. It wasn't. He just lost. It happens. It
Well,
happens.
that's it. The jury are the ones that decide, not us as the public.
No, I hate to, you got to go back to Russell Hantz, and I feel like I have to quote Jeff Probst. He's like, yeah, because Russell Hantz, after losing Heroes versus Villains, said in the finale, he said, I think America needs a percentage of the vote, is what he said, and the whole crowd cheered. They loved Russell, and Probst said, okay, it's like maybe like what you're proposing is a different game. Maybe you would win that game. However, Survivor is what it is, and you did not win it. So and that's what I feel when people say that. They're like, well, the jury is wrong. I'm like, okay, well, what you're proposing is a different version of Survivor, not the actual one that we're watching on TV. So you got to,
Hmm.
I can understand people being upset by the winner, like they're bummed. But when people start going like trash or they start threatening people, no one's been immune. I know Kenzie got hate during the season, and Kenzie to me seemed like America's sweetheart. So
Hmm.
sometimes people would be a little over the top. It's been that way lately with the vote, although it's dying down, thankfully. And everyone be happy, put on your Q skirts, and just chill out a little bit.
Well,
Everyone's
that's
going to
it.
be
Like,
good.
once season 47 starts, it's going to start all over again, right? Where everyone's going to be making judgments and predictions. And it's just like, well, here we go again. So it's a
Absolutely.
return, like, constant circle of what's going on in this game.
It's a circle of life and Survivor.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
And as a closing note, I didn't get to say this. My winner pick for the season initially was Tiffany, and I love Tiffany. I want to see her do more things. Please follow her in anything she does on socials. Liz is great for a great laugh. Tim's unfortunately not really on socials too much, but he's a really funny dude from what I've seen. So check it out. And also Hunter, I want to say this real quick. Shout out to Hunter. He's been doing these like weekly like games, like mini
Oh,
games.
I've been watching them. Yeah. On
Yeah,
Instagram Live. Yeah.
oh, they're so good, right?
Taboo last week. Did you watch it?
I watched some of it. I saw Maria playing Taboo
Yeah,
and
I
somebody
saw
else.
that. I saw Venus for a little
Venus.
bit.
Yes,
Oh
good
my
old
gosh.
Venus. A lot of people are trying to ship Hunter and Venus together, which I think is funny.
On our podcast, we actually mentioned that, like the tension with them, it's like sexual tension.
Oh,
Please have a listen. It's hilarious.
this is a
Yes.
fun this is a fun compilation of clips if I do this. Looks like she's sitting there and he's just peeking through.
Watching her. Yeah, it's like I'm watching you from afar type thing. Stalking
I'm
me.
No, Hunter would never do that. He's great.
He
He's a good old
wouldn't.
chap. Yeah, he would
Yeah.
never do such a thing. Um, but Hunter's been doing that. And I the reason why I have to shout out, aside from going to watch those games, because I think he does them like sort of toward the end of the week or the weekend. Also because that is like, in my opinion, that is him trying to basically disperse the discourse around 46, because the Survivor 46 cast seems to not have the greatest relationship with each other, like 45, where 45 is in love with each other, and I love that. But 46, I think this is his way of kind of being the bridge between all sides, and I think it's really cool. And I have to give shout out to him, because the reason why this channel exists is because we want to try to get rid of some of that discourse. So seeing Hunter make such a concerted effort to talk about things that aren't just negative all the time, I love that. And Hunter's a good dude, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah.
I would love to interview him as well. Like, there's so many castaways that I want to interview with Adam on our show, but it's like, how do I go about doing it? And I said this to you before. I was like, any tips that you can give, please?
I'm sure a lot of castaways would be super stoked to do it. I'll tell you, like, just for I don't know the answer to this. I'm sure a lot of the 46 ones right now are just trying to catch their breath after the season being done. So probably around the time 47 comes around, they'll probably be open to it. I don't know. I'll straight up, I haven't approached anyone from 46 about doing anything. One, I was like, okay, when it gets to 47, we'll talk. Right now, just chill. But honestly, yeah, they're great people. So just reach out and I'm sure they'll talk. But you gotta hop on there. I know one or two that would probably talk your ear off. It'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And including
Gotta do my
myself.
homework. Yeah.
Oh, no. I'm sure there's plenty in there. Up in
No.
that noggin to be able to carry it all. It's gonna be great. Um,
No.
so anyway, actually speaking of talking a whole lot, we're actually gonna wrap up here. This has been a really great discussion with you, Nikki. Thank you so much for sitting down and talking about Survivor a good little bit. We've been trying to make this work for some time, and we're finally doing it. I feel lovely
Yes.
about it.
No, it's been really cool getting to know you as well. Like,
Mm.
it's crazy because I was like, more Survivor fans, the better, right? And bridge that
Oh,
gap between oceans.
absolutely. Absolutely. We're same language divided by a couple continents. Well, two continents, I guess we'll say. And we're speaking another language, the Survivor nerd language. And I appreciate it. It's really fun. I'm always happy to do anything with this. Maybe we'll have some cool new fun projects upcoming that maybe we can do some videos on. Every once in a while, I think about these goofy video ideas that I usually don't do because it's more fun to do with a group of people than just
Mhm.
myself. So maybe we'll get some of those going. It could be really fun. But
Sounds great.
again, again, thank you for joining me today. And remember to make sure that you check out the podcast with Nikki and Adam. It's the Shot in the Dark podcast. I'm going to pop the logo up here once again for everyone to look at. A Survivor podcast, Shot in the Dark. Boom. Maybe one day you'll have Caleb on there. After all, he's like the Shot in the Dark king, right?
Mhm.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, check that out, and you have a lot more content from Nikki and Adam coming your way, and of course the Super Fun Time Show. So make sure to hit the subscribe button for this channel. Otherwise, that's going to do it. Hope you all have an amazing day, everyone. Take care, and goodbye, everybody.